They are also known as open word classes because they can allow new members to join. Whilst we have the other word class as minor word classes, in other words, functional words or grammatical words, because like I said earlier, they help the language. They are there as helpers. They don't have meaning on their own. And so, and then they are also known as closed word classes because they don't easily allow other members to join. So we want to look at each of them. We'll be starting with a noun. Noun. So like we've been doing always, I'll be moving along the line. If you have any question, you raise your hand and then I can respond to your question. So we're starting with a noun. And then we know that notionally, when we talk of the noun, we are talking about a naming word or a word that refers to a person, a place, or a thing, as we were taught when we were in the basic school. So a noun is a naming word, notionally. And it's often the word class that is easily identifiable. So Holiday defined a noun as notionally as a word that expresses a person, other being, inanimate object, or abstraction, bounded or unbounded, etc. And then grammatically, we can look at a noun as being either count or mass, and if count, may be either singular or plural. Now, when it comes to a noun, I'm sure you will not have much issues with it, as I saw last week. So notion, we are referring to a word that is used to express a person or name a person or an object or whatever. So noun comes in different classes. In other words, there are different classes of nouns. Generally, we can identify proper nouns and then common nouns. That's a general classification, proper nouns and common nouns. And then when we talk of common nouns too, we can subdivide them or subclassify them based on a number of dimensions. So for common nouns, we can look at count versus uncount nouns. We can look at abstract versus concrete nouns. And then we can look at collective versus non-collective nouns. Let's look at proper nouns. I'm moving a bit fast in this area, unless you have any question you want me to answer. And so when you talk of proper nouns, what are they? So we know proper nouns begin with uppercase, or in other words, capital letter, and they name a specific place. Okay. They name specific places, or they name specific things. So because they name specific places, proper nouns do not take articles or determinants because they name specific places or specific things. They don't usually take determinants or articles. So for instance, we have University of Cape Coast, we have Kumasi, we have John. These are proper nouns that identify specific places. And then we have the common nouns that give general labels. It gives general ideas, general places, and so on. So a common noun, when we are writing a common noun, unless it is beginning a sentence, we normally use the lowercase, okay? Common nouns usually begin with lowercase unless they are beginning the sentence. So if I say hospital, which hospital am I talking about? Is it University of Cape Coast Hospital? Is it Comfort Teaching Hospital? What kind of hospital am I talking about? And so hospital is general, it gives a general idea. If I say car, there are so many different types of cars. Which one am I talking about? And so because it gives a generic or a general idea, we call them common nouns. So you want to look at the types of common nouns that we have. In common nouns, we can identify concrete and abstract nouns, where concrete nouns make the name experience. For concrete nouns, we can experience them using the 5 senses. Okay. You know, there are 5 senses: the sense of hearing, sight, taste, smell, and then touch. So if the noun can be identified using any of these 5 senses, then we are looking at concrete nouns. And so you can see, if you can see something, a tree, a book, a person, a house, a car, a woman, a goat, if you can see these ones, they are concrete nouns because you can perceive them with the sense of sight. But then if you can hear something, it can also be said to be concrete if you can smell something. So those are concrete nouns. Then we have the abstract nouns. The abstract nouns, which are the opposite of concrete nouns. Unlike abstract nouns that can be perceived with the 5 senses, for abstract nouns, they usually refer to ideas, beliefs, concepts, or state of being. Ideas, beliefs, concepts, or state of being. So for abstract nouns, we can't see them, we can't hear them, we can't smell them, we can't touch them. If I say, I hate someone, hate, the word hate, we cannot see hate, we can't smell hate, we can't taste hate, we can't touch hate. And so because we cannot perceive hate with using any of these 5 senses, hate becomes an abstract noun, that nouns that cannot be felt using any of the 5 senses. Okay. Then we can identify other class of common nouns, that is count and uncount words or non-count words. So the count words are the nouns that can be counted, and the uncount ones are the ones that cannot be counted. So tables, chairs, pencils, books, we can count them. But then for the non-count ones or the mass nouns, they are the ones that we cannot count. For instance, we can't count water. Okay, we cannot count anger, we can't count music, we can't count sleep, rice, sugar, we cannot count them. So for those that are those that we cannot count, they are the mass or non-count nouns. Then some common nouns can have dual class membership. Some can be classified as counts. They can also be classified as non-counts, depending on the context within which they are found. So look at these examples. Look at the word beauty. She was a beauty in her youth. A beauty. Once we've given the article a, denoting a singular item, it means for this particular one, we are classifying it as a count noun. She had great beauty in her youth. Great beauty. Great. So this one, there was no article or attached to it. And so it is referring to it in its generic sense. So this one becomes that is kindly mute for us.
My brother, my brother.
That is kindly mute for us. Madam Doris, kindly mute for us. Okay, thank you. So we have other examples like water. Water can be classified as a count noun when you are referring to different bodies of water. Different bodies of water. But it can be classified as, it can also be classified as non-count noun. So our waters are in danger due to galamsey. What kind of waters are we talking about? The rivers, the streams, the whatever. Even the sea is even in danger because of galamsey activities. Those who live along the coastal lines. So that when it gets to areas where galamsey activities are dominant, it's that the sea will be changing color. So even the sea is affected. So when you are making reference to different water bodies, then water becomes a count noun. Then another group of common nouns is the collective noun, which represents a whole group. So for collective nouns, they don't have any particular form or word form in English, okay, or morphology in English. They can sometimes be plural, sometimes be singular, depending on the context within which you are looking at it or how the intention of the speaker. So my family is visiting me this weekend. My family are visiting me this weekend. So like I said, depending on the intention of the speaker, the first sentence, my family is visiting me. Is it that the person is treating family as a unit, as one unit? But then the second one, my family are visiting me, the speaker is looking at the individual members making up the family, the individual members making up the family. So in that sense, family is treated as a plural word. But then it can also be looked at as a singular word, looking at, depending on how you look at it. So some other words, other examples, we have team, we have staff, etc. So we can have the staff is meeting, staff are meeting, or the staff will visit, the staff are, the staff the staff is visiting us this afternoon. The staff are visiting us this afternoon. So just like family, they can be treated as singular or plural depending on what the speaker is looking at. So there are some nouns that will have the same form as verbs. Unless they are used in context, you wouldn't know whether they are nouns or they are verbs. When you take the first example, charge. If I say charge my phone for me, charge my phone for me, it's obviously it's a verb. All right. We have a charge. We have a charge to keep the information a secret. We have a charge to keep the information. So a charge there becomes a noun. Even though they have the same form, the contents will make them either a noun or a verb. Other examples, we have comments, contracts, copy, debate, design, hope, look, plan, reply. We will plan a birthday party. We will plan a birthday party. So we will plan. It becomes a verb. The group had a wonderful plan. The group had a wonderful plan. Plan there becomes a noun. So these kind of nouns can be have the same form as verbs, but whether they are nouns or verbs will depend on the context within which they are used. So this one I've given an example already. Realizations of nouns having the same form as verbs. I think we've talked about it already. So practice can be a noun. We'll be going for queer practice, or it can be a verb. Contract. So you see that when it is a noun, look at the third example. Look at where the stress is. So you see that in the first word, the stress is on the first syllable. Contract. But then that is a noun. But then when it is used as a verb, the stress is on the second syllable. Contract. But look at the difference between the first example and the second example, practice. The spelling of the verb, So the British English will use TISE, while the American English will use TICE. It used to be the case when we are writing and we are expected to write use only British English spelling. But now I think American English is expected, it's accepted, just that we need to be consistent with which form we want to use. Now we are continuing. We are looking at realizations of nouns. And the first one, we've seen that some nouns have the same form as verbs. And then some nouns are formed with prefixes. There are anti-D for mes. Most often, they indicate the presence of noun. So asymmetry, asynchrony, we have antimatter, we have decentralization, forecast, illegality, imperfection, miscalculation. So there are anti-D for mes. They often are the prefixes used in the formation of nouns. Then we also have suffixes. You know, the prefix or the prefixes are the ones that are placed before the base word, while the suffixes are the ones that are placed after the base word. And so we see that in this example, forecast, for has been placed before the base word cast. And so for is treated as a prefix. In the same way, il is placed before legal. And so il becomes a prefix. But then iti becomes a suffix because it's been placed after the base word. So in forming nouns, there are certain prefixes that are used in forming it, and then there are also suffixes that indicate the presence of nouns. So ANT, we can talk of contestant. EE, we can talk of attendee or referee. ENT, you can talk of correspondent. ER, you can talk of teacher. OR, actor, director. LET, booklet, leaflets, and then the rest continues. So continue. So when you see these suffixes, they often indicate the presence of nouns. Then let's look at the functions of nouns. Now, the functions of nouns, we've already looked at functions of nominal groups. So functions of nouns are just like the nominal groups. Okay. And we said a nominal group is a group that has a noun as its head word. A noun performs two main functions: as the head word of a nominal group and as a classifier. Remember last week we mentioned classifier, and then we said classifier is a word that identifies something as belonging to a certain group or as being a part of a certain group. So let's look at the two main functions of a noun. The first one as the head of a nominal group. Now, as a head of a nominal group, let's look at these nominal groups. A very handsome man, the car in the garage, woman of faith. Remember last week or the first week we met, we talked of a group as an expanded word where we have the head word plus other words added to it. And we said is a head word that will identify the type of group you are looking at. And so here we are looking at the nominal, the group, a very handsome man. We can see that the word man is a head word. Is the word man that the whole structure is talking about. A very handsome is helping us to identify the particular man we are talking about. In the same way, when you look at the second example, the car in the garage. So there it's helping us to, it's pointing to the specific car we are talking about. And then in the garage, it's still making specific the particular car that we are talking about. And so man, car, woman, you see that they are all nouns. And so this indicating the function of a noun where it serves as the head of a nominal group. So in each of these sentences, the noun highlighted in red is functioning as the head of those nominal groups. Then we have now a function as a classifier. So here, as a classifier, I said earlier that it identifies something as a part of a group or as a type of something. A wonderful dance hall artist, the whiteboard marker, television broadcast. So the marker, which kind of marker are we talking about? The whiteboard marker. It's identifying a marker as a type of whiteboard used for the whiteboard. And then the artist, there are so many artists. Which of them are you talking about? The dance hall type. Broadcast, which broadcast are we talking about? Radio broadcast or what? We are talking about the type we are referring to the television type of broadcast. And so as a classifier, nouns help to identify something as a type of something. Then we want to talk about adjectives. Normally we will say that adjectives modify nouns, right? That's the general definition that we all grew up with. And so yes, adjectives are property words. In other words, they identify or modify nouns. So they tell us more, they give us more information about nouns. So Henderson and Fulham 2002 defined what an adjective is. They said that so they look at an adjective as an expression that alter, clarify, or adjust the meaning contributions of nouns. They clarify the meaning contributions of nouns. They make the meaning of nouns clear. So if I say the boy came here, which boy? Boy is a noun, but which boy am I referring to? So the tall boy, the young boy, the old boy, at least those words, tall, young, old, they will help to identify the particular boy that I'm talking about, or that we are talking about. Let's talk about the characteristics of adjectives. Thomas.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Please, I want to find out. You said adjectives are property words. So the word property here used is referring to what exactly?
The adjectives as property of. So they are helping us to identify words, or they are making the words that they describe clearer. They are making the words that they describe clear. That's what we mean by adjectives are property. They come with words to clarify the meaning of words. Let me put it in that way, if that will make it clear. Are you there?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
I don't know if you heard me.
Yes, I did. Thank you very much.
Okay. So like I said, when we say adjectives are property of words, like I said, they just help us to identify, should I say, the true nature of words, or they give us the features of a word, or yes, so basically they help us to identify the words, or let me put it simply in that way, like I said already. They tell us the quality of a word. So when the examples that I gave earlier, you realize that beautiful, old, young, or old and young, or something like that, they were helping us, or they made the meaning of the word boy clearer. Okay. So when you say it's a property of word, they are just there to describe words. Now let's look at the characteristics of adjectives. Morphological characteristics of adjectives. In other words, how adjectives are written, how they look like. There are certain surfaces that when we see them, we tend to see that those words are adjectives. Though there can be overlappings somewhere, those endings can also belong to other word class depending on their contents, but generally, most often, these endings or suffixes are typical of adjectives. So we have able, comfortable, sociable. We have for ish, ous, alic, less, ian. So tasteless. When you talk of educational, that is AL. You can talk of examples of manage. Okay, so you have a lot more of examples on the screen that you can look at. syntactically, how do adjectives look like? So they can be pre-modified by intensifiers. Adjectives can be pre-modified by intensifiers. Remember that adverbs too can be pre-modified by intensifiers. So looking at the characteristics of adjectives, we don't use only the syntactic feature that it can be modified by intensifier, because adverbs too can be modified by intensifiers. So using only the syntactic feature wouldn't be enough for you to identify an adjective. So aside being modified by intensifiers such as very beautiful, extremely beautiful, really beautiful, and so on, they can also take the comparative and exparative form. So they have their positive form, comparative form, exparative form, tall, taller, tallest, small, smaller, smallest, happy, happier, happiest. So adjectives also have the ability of taking the comparative and then exparative form, where we add ER to indicate the comparative form, whilst we add EST to indicate the exparative form. But you know that there are some adjectives that will take more and most to indicate the comparative and exparative forms respectively. And so you can talk of more intelligent as a comparative form, whilst we have most intelligent as the exparative form, more beautiful as comparative, most beautiful as the exparative form. So in taking the comparative and exparative forms, adjectives can either take the ER, EST, or M, more, and then most. If you remember earlier, I said that just a slide or two earlier, I said that adjectives can be modified by intensifiers, and I said we can't use that one alone to identify adjectives, because adverbs can also be modified by intensifiers, which means that adjectives and adverbs have something in common. So let's look at adjectives in relation to adverbs. So we are looking at when adjectives function as pre-modifiers or epithets as compared to when as compared to when adverbs function as adjuncts. So look at the words in bold. The words in bold. A rapid car. Drive rapidly. So here, rapid is the adjective, whilst we add ly to it, and it becomes an adverb. Then we have a fast car. Now, in the first one, you see that rapid there is modifying the noun car. Car, which car? A rapid car, or the rapid one. So rapid there is referring to the car. In that case, because car is a noun, it becomes an adjective. But drive rapidly, you see that rapidly is referring to the manner of driving. Okay, so in this case, rapidly becomes an adverb. Let's look at the third example. You realize that we have a slow car and then drive slow, the same form of word, slow, slow. Here, it can be used as slow, can be used as slowly. So, slow car, drive slow. Like I said earlier, in the first example, The slow there is referring to car, making it an adjective. But then in the second example, slow is referring to the manner of driving, making it an adverb. So some of the words will resemble, they may be similar. They may have the same form, but it is the context that will help us to know whether that word is an adjective or an adverb. The context, the syntactic position will help us to know whether the word is an adjective or an adverb. Now, in terms of form, like I said earlier, that some words have the same form, some adjectives and adverbs have the same form, but their difference will be determined by the context. You can look at these examples to an early train, and then we finished early today. In the first one, in the early train, we are saying that early here is an adjective because it is referring to the train. Which train? Or what was early? The train. And the train is a noun. And so early there becomes an adjective. But when you look at the second one, we finished early. We finished early. Early is looking at, is referring to finish, or it's modifying finished. And finished is a verb. And so in this case, early there becomes a verb, an adverb, sorry, because it is modifying a verb. It's the same with the second and then the third. A likely story. Story is a noun. And so if likely is modifying the noun story, likely becomes an adjective. But then most likely, I would most likely is modifying, likely is modifying the verbal group for most. And so it becomes an adverb. The same with monthly visits, where monthly is modifying the noun visit, and then she visited me monthly, where monthly is referring to the verb visited. And so some words will have the same form, but they can be adjectives or adverbs depending on the context within which they are used. Let's look at the functions of an adjective. So adjectives can function as the head of adjective group. Very beautiful, most original, very beautiful indeed. So beautiful is the head word, and it is function as a head word of that group or the adjective group. So their first function is that they function as a head word of the adjective group, and they also function as epithets. Remember when we're looking at the part of a group, we identified about 6 parts of a group. We identify the dative, post-dative, we identify epithets, we identify numerative, we identify the term classifier. And then if you remember, I said that the epithet behaves like an adjective. So yes, the adjective functions as an epithet within a group, or it can function as an epithet within a group. In that case, it performs the attributive function, where the adjective comes before the noun it modifies. It performs the attributive function. When an adjective is performing an attributive function, what we mean is that that adjective has been placed before the noun that it is modifying. So a handsome man. Handsome there is modifying the noun man, and handsome is placed before the word man. So over here, it is performing attributive function. In other words, it is function as an epithet in the nominal group. It also functions as a classifier, where it helps to identify a word as being part of something. It functions as a classifier where it helps to identify a word as being part of something. The beautiful English teacher. There are so many teachers, but we are talking about the what kind of teacher are we talking about, or what type of teacher are we talking about? We are talking about English teachers. Chinese film. There are so many types of films. There are so many types. We have Ghanaian film, Nigerian film, and what have you. So what kind of film are you talking about? What type of film are you talking about? You're talking about the Chinese one. And so American music, Ghanaian culture, social club, local restaurants. So when an adjective functions this way, it is functioning as a classifier because it helps to identify a word as being part of or being a type of something. Then we also mentioned the post-dative. When we're looking at the parts of a group, we also said that we have the dative that do the pointing, then the post-dative that add more information to what was pointed to by dative expression. So here, the adjectives that serve as post-dative include the words that have been mentioned: a certain, usual, same, similar, each, other, etc. So a certain boy, a particular man, a typical Ghanaian football. So you could have said a boy, a man, a Ghanaian food, a weather pattern, the table, but then we added the post-dative to make the pointing more clear or clearer. Then it can also function as qualifier. When an adjective functions as a qualifier, it means that it is placed after the head word, or yes, it is placed after the head word in the nominal group. When an adjective functions as a qualifier, it means it is placed after the head word in the nominal group. I will still take you back to the part of a group. After mentioning that, we see that there was another part, which was the qualifier. So all the girls in the room. All the girls in the room. So all the girls in the room. In this case, they are coming before the head word, which is girls. Okay. They are coming before the head word, which is girls. But I realize that after the head word, there are still other words that are modifying the head word. So those words that come after the head word are the qualifiers. So adjectives can also function as qualifiers within the nominal group. Something useful, something useful. So the head word is something. This is something useful. So the head word is something. But what is it about something? We are talking about something that is useful. The vice chancellor designates. The vice chancellor that is designate. Which vice chancellor are we talking about? The one who has been designated. President-elect. Which president are we talking about? The one that has been elected. So normally we say that when adjectives are functioning as qualifiers, when adjectives are functioning as qualifiers, sometimes they can be considered as reduced relative clauses. when they are functioning as qualifiers, they can sometimes be considered as reduced relative clauses. So something useful, something, what we actually mean is something that is useful, that is useful, relative clause, that is useful. But then we remove the that is over there, something useful. The vice chancellor designates. So the vice chancellor who has been designated, who has been designated. So who has been designated, who there, that one becomes, is a relative clause. But then we reduce it, we contract it. Then the president-elect, similar to what I've said already. So far we've been looking at the open word classes or the major word classes. We said there are 4 of them: nouns, adjectives, verbs, adverbs. So in the first part of the lesson, we've considered the nouns and then the adjectives. In the next part of the lesson, we are going to consider verb and then adverb. So these are some self-assessment questions for you. I will pause here and take your questions if you have any. Before we look at the next lesson. I'm trying to bring up the next slide. Okay. If there are no questions, then let me bring in the next part. Okay, so we'll be looking at verbs and adverbs in this part of the lesson. So we'll be able to, by the time we are done, you'll be able to identify the subclasses of verbs, distinguish between lexical and auxiliary verbs, explain the functions of verbs, and identify adverbs in sentences and state their function. All right, so we have just finished discussing 2 of the major word classes, that is nouns and adjectives. So we move on to look at the other 2. verbs and adverbs, beginning with verbs. So when we talk of a verb, we are talking about a word class that represents a process. A word class that represents a process. And so this process can refer to an action, it can refer to a feeling, it can refer to a state of being, it can refer to a saying or anything. So, and the word class that refer to all the states that we are talking about, the processes within a clause, is what we refer to as a verb. So for verbs representing action, like I said, when you talk of a verb as a process or as representing a process, the process can refer to actions such as write, run, dig. It can refer to a saying such as say, discuss, tell. It can refer to a possession, possess, belong to. It can refer to being, a state of being. Then we can have behavior, we can have representing emotion or feeling. So that class of words that refer to all these processes is that type of word that refer to as a verb. When we're looking at adjectives and nouns, you realize that certain words, when we take certain words, the same form can be an adjective, the same form can be an adjectives and adverbs rather. We said that the same form can be an adjective, the same form can be an adverb. For example, we saw the word fast, where we saw that it can be used to modify a noun, as in the fast car, or it can be used to modify a verb, as in he drove fast. Even though the word has the same form, F-A-S-T, they refer to different word classes depending on the contents. When it comes to verb to, it shares a certain feature, a similar feature with a noun. So we can have a word that has the same form when used as a noun, the same form when used as a verb. But then again, the difference will be seen based on the context. So let's take rains, for instance. It rains often. It rains often. In this sentence, we realize that rains is denoting a process. And so rains here becomes a verb. But then the rains have delayed. The rains have delayed. You realize that even the word rains have been given an article. That shows that in that context, the rains there is not a verb, but it is a noun, a naming word. So there are two main subclasses of a verb. You can talk of lexical verbs and auxiliary verbs. Where lexical verbs have content meaning, whilst auxiliary verbs are the helping verbs. In that case, they themselves do not have meaning when used in isolation, but then they often appear with main verbs to perform the supporting role as auxiliary verbs. Aside classifying verbs as lexical or auxiliary, we can also classify the verb based on the syntactic property. That is whether the verb is finite or non-finite. When a verb is finite, it marks tense. But when it is non-finite, it does not. When a verb is finite, it marks tense or modality. When it is non-finite, it does not. Let me give you this simple illustration that can help you to identify or remember finite verbs and non-finite verbs. When the verb appears in this form, either simple present or simple past, it means the verb is a finite verb. When the verb is in a simple present form or simple past form, it means the verb is finite. When the verb is in any other form, for instance, continuous form, future form, participial form, they are all non-finite. Okay, so the verb can be finite, in which case it marks tense or modality. And then it can be non-finite, in which case it neither marks tense nor modality. So when we say a verb marks modality, we are looking at the verb indicating obligation or possibility or what have you. So Abner walked to school. Abner walked to school. So over here, walked is a finite verb because it is marking tense. What kind of tense? Simple past tense. And then we have he talks in class. It is finite because it marks tense, simple present tense. And then he must walk, must is finite because it marks modality. So the non-finite types, driving to school, while walking to school, he has eaten the food, and so on. They are the non-finite forms. So we've identified auxiliary and lexical verbs. We've identified finite, non-finite. Now we are looking at regular, irregular. Selena.
Madam, please, may I ask if only obligations indicate modality?
No, modality can indicate obligation, possibility, necessity. As we go on, I will give you, I think there's a slide that we are going to talk about all those ones. That's the modal verbs. You know, some of the modal verbs indicate willingness, some indicate ability, even some indicate doubt. So it is not only what do you call it? It is not only obligation. They come in different forms.
Okay, madam, thank you.
All right, Victor.
Thank you, madam. Kindly brought us back just a little. You gave us some indicators of what a finite verb and a non-finite verb is. If you can kindly take that again so that I note it down.
Now I was saying that when we're looking at finite and non-finite verbs, we said that the finite verbs mark tense, but the non-finite verbs do not. Then I was trying to give you a simple explanation that sometimes I give to my students that make them easily grasp what finite verbs are. And I said that you know, we have simple present tense, we have simple past tense. So verbs in those forms, simple present, simple past, they are often the finite verbs. Whereas verbs in other form, like the continuing form, the future form, the participial form, they often fall under the non-finite verbs. That was what I said. And this is just something to help my students to remember or to be able to differentiate between finite and non-finite. Maso,
So, Madam, please, can you say the non-finite show time?
time.
When you
I
mention
talk
future,
about this.
come again.
Time or
No,
time?
not like you mentioned well and cool.
Come again.
You said the non-finite one they talk about participants, future and cool. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Hello.
Yes, I'm listening.
Yeah, you said future, and I said so that can you mention like whoa? Is it part of the non-finite?
All is a modal verb.
The model. Okay.
Yeah, all is modal.
Okay.
So
But
the non-final form will be the ing forms, the en,
the en form.
the participle verbs in the participial form.
But I
You know
think
the
those one,
participial form.
yeah, madam. Hello.
Yes, I'm
But
listening.
I think those one they are always used with the tenses. We can't just use like eating just like EATEN. You can't use it just like that unless you use it with the
So has eaten, have eaten. They are all non-finite form.
oh
That's why
okay.
I said to help you to identify, you just take out simple present, simple past out. The rest become non-finite.
Oh okay. Okay.
Of course, and this is something that sometimes I used to make it simple for my students, but then of course you are bigger now, more mature now. So you can add other components that will make you understand it better. Okay.
Now, madam, the finite, can you also use the is eating, is drinking? Is this part of the is it finite? The is eating.
But we have ing there. So the ing forms are part of the non-finite forms. Is eating is not simple present.
Okay,
Eating is not simple
it is
present.
the continuous. So okay.
So the
Okay, I
ing
get it.
forms form part of the non-finite.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's gotcha.
All right.
Okay.
So you can also identify the regular, irregular verbs, where the regular verbs take the usual verb and then D-E-D. They finished, clapped, walked. These are regular verbs. But we also have they are also known as weak verb form. We also have the irregular verbs where sometimes even the verb will remain the same, whether used as present or past. And then sometimes the spelling, some vowel, instead of showing the slide. So when it comes to irregular verbs, they do not mark their endings using D or ED. And they are known as strong verbs. So irregular verbs, sometimes the past form may even be the same as the present form. And then sometimes in forming the past tense, the vowel in the middle will change. So let's look at these examples. Weave. When we take weave, the base form is weave. If weave were to be a regular verb, they would have just added D to it to get its past form. But in getting the past tense form of weave, we got wove, and the participle form is woven. So in this case, weave becomes an irregular verb. It's the same with eat, wear. But when you look at things, you realize that both the base form and the past form are the same, and then the participial form no, I think it's the past form and then the participial form that would be the same. Maswa, your hand has been up since. Is it the old hand? Is the old hand? Okay. I will make a correction here before I give you the slide. I will make a correction here before I give you the slide. Please. Daniel.
Please, I want to ask if I have a sentence like he is going. He is going. Is it a finite or it's not a finite?
Can someone answer me? Answer for me.
It is non-finite.
Who is talking?
Maxwell.
Maxwell. But Maxwell, you know the who asked the question?
No.
No, it's Daniel. I asked.
Okay, so Maxwell, you say it's non-finite. There are about 4 or 5 hands up. Okay, I will come back to you, Maxwell. Let's hear what Serena also says.
So, Madam, please, in he is going, X becomes auxiliary, then going becomes non-finite.
Okay, thank you. Thomas, what do you also have to say?
So it's going, the is finite, and the going is predicator.
Okay. There's another. The other one, I don't see the other hand. The other person can talk. The other person, there's another hand. I don't see the name. The person can talk.
Max, please mute yourself. We beg.
Okay. So we are looking at the verb, not the verb group. Okay. We are looking at the verb. Remember, we have already looked at verb group. So now we are looking at the individual verbs. Okay. So the example that Daniel gave, what you gave was a verbal group. Remember when we were looking at the verbal group, we identified parts of the verbal group: finite, the finite, I've forgotten the other parts.
And the verbal.
Not the verbal.
Auxiliary.
Not the verbal.
Predicate.
Auxiliary.
Events. Let the car.
So in that verb, the verbal group, remember that we said that often if we have a string of a number of words, a number of verbs forming the verb group, often the first item takes the finite.
Okay.
Or max finite. Okay, that is group. Group. Now we have moved from group. We are looking at word. We are looking at the individual words. Remember, on the run scale, we have clause, which we dealt with. We have group and phrases, which we dealt with. Now we have come down to the word. So we are no longer looking at the whole group, but we are looking at the individual words. I don't know if you get me. So we will not take is going, but we will rather look at either is, we will rather look at going. The word, the single word. We have moved from the level of group, of looking at them as a group. we are now looking at the individual verbs as a word. We are at the level of a word. So if it's a word, then we'll be looking at either is or going. Not the group, not the verbal group is going. Of course, when we take the verbal, we identify the part as finite, as I don't know why I always forget. We identify as finite, as, please remind me.
Predicator.
Predicator, and then yes.
Auxiliary.
Where we said that in a situation where we don't, the finite and the predicator are both performed by the same verb, we call it what? There's a word for
That's
it. We call it what?
a conflict.
Good, very good. So now we are not looking at the group, okay, Daniel? We are not looking at the group. We have moved from the level of the group. We are looking at the individual verbs. So if you are looking at the individual verbs, is will be treated as a separate verb, in which case it becomes an auxiliary. And then we have going, in which case it becomes a main verb. But if we take going as a verb, what kind of verb is it? Then we'll be looking at it as a non-finite verb because of its end ing form.
So please, madam, I ask that of the is, whether it's a finite or non-finite. That's what I
And so the question you asked, you were putting is going as a group. And I said we are not looking at it as a group. So if we take is in isolation, is becomes an auxiliary verb. If it's there alone, it becomes, we can treat it as a finite verb.
the reason why I'm asking this, when we were defining that of finite, we said it always must tense. So I assume that the is giving us an indication that the is over here is a simple present tense. So it has given it that definite distance. So
So
I assume that it becomes a finite, which is indicating the present situation.
that's it. That's
If
it.
I'm not mistaken.
Is appearing with another word. Is.
Please come again.
Is sorry. The verb is it there alone or it is there with
No,
another word?
is there with another word, the ing from going.
So
So he is going. Maybe I can add maybe to school to it. And I'm just asking that the is over here is it finite because it's indicating some kind of tense. It's
and I'm saying that
marking
if
some kind of
it's
tense.
a verb group,
Or it cannot be treated like in isolated manner like this. Or
now
it
if you
will be
say it's
treated.
going, mhm. Go on, go ahead.
I don't know whether it cannot be treated as one or we always put them together so we analyze it or because I just checked and the chat GPT has has answered me that the is over here is a finite because it's showing some
As
kind of
you added it to going, didn't you?
yes please
And I'm
I
saying
just
that
asked.
what we have is going as a group. If we were here last week, it would be a verbal group. And then last week we saw the part of a verbal group. And we said that often the first verb element, if the verbal group has more than one element in it, often the first one marks tense, which means that if we take is going as a verbal group or as a verb group, then is marks tense.
That's what I wanted the clarification. So thanks.
Yes, and that was what I said earlier. Probably didn't get it well. But what
Okay.
I added
Thank you,
that
madam.
probably confused you was that we have moved from the
Uh,
group, we are looking at word. But then when you look
okay.
at it as group, is the marks tense.
Thank you, madam.
All right. Please, can we go on?
Yes, please, madam.
All right. Okay, regular, irregular. Lexical verbs. Okay, so we are looking at a minute, okay. Since I've skipped that, I've skipped the slide. Good. Yeah. Okay, so I think that is it. So we are looking at lexical verbs. Remember, we said that we gave two broad categories of verbs as lexical verbs and auxiliary verbs. So when you talk of lexical verbs, we are looking at the verbs that have meaning. Okay, that have meaning. So the lexical verbs can be made up of single words or just one item, or it can be in a multi-word form, or should I say in a compound form. So for the single word form or consisting of just single word, you can talk of walk, talk, walk, whatever. And then a multi-word form, you can close down, look into, and so on. Okay. Now, the multi-word forms are what we normally refer to as phrasal verbs. They are the ones that we normally refer to as phrasal verbs. Look into. Now, when you take phrasal verbs, they often give idiomatic expression meanings. They often give idiomatic meanings. So when we say look into it gives an idiomatic sense. Look into, to investigate something. Okay. So when you talk of the lexical verbs, we are talking about the verbs that have content meaning. So the lexical verbs can appear alone, or they can be made up of single verbs, or they can be made up of multi-word verbs, in which case we often refer to them as phrasal verbs. And the phrasal verbs, most phrasal verbs have idiomatic meanings, or they are fixed expressions. So if you don't have lexical verbs, we have auxiliary verbs. In a clause, the auxiliary verbs are there to support the lexical verbs. For example, the example that Daniel gave earlier is going. We have two verbs there. We have is, we have going. The is there because we have a main verb going. Is there is just supporting the main verb. So in this case, is will be the auxiliary verb, while the going will be the main verb. So the auxiliary verbs are there to support the main verbs. You already know that auxiliary verbs are functional words or grammatical markers because they don't make meaning on their own. They just support the main verbs to make meaning. So Daniel, look at this slide. Look at this particular slide. I think the point 2 answers or makes it clear the question that you asked earlier, that auxiliary verbs act as the finite operator when they occur as the first verb of a finite verbal group.
Yeah, I have seen it, madam.
Yes, group.
Thank you.
All right. So we are still focusing on the auxiliary verbs. We can talk of primary auxiliaries and then modal auxiliaries. Be, have, do. They are the various forms of be, have, do. They function as the primary auxiliaries. So for be, is, are, was, were, been. And then have, has, have, had, having. Then do, does, did, done, doing. So these are considered the primary auxiliaries, whereas the modal auxiliaries indicates various forms as possibility, obligation, Ebenezer.
Please, I want to know if we are done with the regular and irregular verbs.
Yes. You see, these are, we are not going so deep into them because these are things that you know already.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so we are not spending so much time on them.
Thank you.
All right. So we are looking at the modal auxiliaries, and I said that they indicate situations like possibility, obligation, inclination, potentiality, and so on. So look at the examples that he can read. It's indicating an ability. Thomas.
Yes, madam. Please, the example that we looked at earlier, which is going. You made mention that the is an auxiliary verb, but when you went further, you said again that it is finite verb. I don't know, in this situation that we have two verbal items, which is the is and the going. We can have the instance where the is finite and at the same time it is also an auxiliary verb.
Daniel, can you help to answer him?
Madam, I think so. So here it is operating both as an auxiliary and also as a finite verb. That's my thinking, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. It's the auxiliaries themselves that, depending on where they are found, if they happen to be the first item. Remember where we go to that, I drew Daniel's attention to it. If they happen to be the first item of the verbal group, then even though it's an auxiliary, it will still be a finite, a finite verb. So a verb can be an auxiliary, and it can still be the auxiliary simply mean that it is occurring with another verb to support the other verb that it is occurring with. So auxiliary simply means helping, okay? So if the verb is an auxiliary verb and it is still the first item within a verb group, then it will still take the finite component. So yes, the two can occur at the same time. Thomas, was it Thomas who asked the question?
Yes, madam.
Are you answered?
Yes, because I'm looking at a situation where we have an example like has been eaten. So where the has is finite, the been is auxiliary, and the eaten predicator. So I was confused as to whether, in this case that we have only two items, whether the is can play the role of being finite and at the same time auxiliary.
So
I'm okay, madam.
Yes, you've answered it. That is it. All right. So the various forms of modality. Yes. So about, we can count up more than core modals, we can count about 9, and then there are more. So can indicates ability. In fact, can also indicate other situations depending on the context. And when it comes to grammar, the context has a lot to do with the meaning that you make. Then, so he can read, it's indicating ability. You can leave. I say you can leave. You realize that here it is not about ability, but it's about giving permission. But we are using the same word, can. That's why I said that the context helps us to know whether the modal expression used there is indicating ability, obligation, possibility, permission, or what have you. You must or have to work harder. It's indicating necessity. You need to do it. The car could break down. It is possible that the car can break down. So these are, there are more. These are some of the conditions that modals can express. So this table gives a summary of prefixes and their meaning when it comes to the formation of verbs. Prefixes and their meaning when it comes to formation of verbs. Has the cause verb joined? Cause verb, are you here? Okay, so I need someone, and you said you didn't get the slides for last week, did you? Did you
We
get the
did not.
slides for last week?
Please no.
I sent them to the course rep right after the class. So some of you took my contact. Okay, the lady contacted me today, this morning, but she happens not to be in your group. Can another person send me a hi? So I can send the slides to you, because if the course rep is not able to send the slides to
Hello,
you.
hello, madam.
Yes,
Hello, madam. Okay,
yes.
I haven't received it yet.
Come again.
Yes, please.
Come again.
I said I haven't received the slides to share with my colleagues.
Which slides, please?
You said you are going to send slides so that we share on the page.
Please, he's
Yes,
yet to do that.
the one who was supposed to send me a hi, I sent it to her, forgot, and I sent them to the course rep, but it seems you didn't get them. So I was guessing that if one of you could take my contact and then send me a hi,
Okay,
so that
I'm the course rep and I haven't received it. That's why. So maybe I'll hire you right away.
wait, then
Yes,
who
please.
did I wait to? Because when we started this program, let me call out this number. Is your number 0246872700?
Yes,
Is that the
please.
number?
Yes, please.
That is you.
Yes, please.
I'll check last week, 27 December,
Okay, please.
356.
Okay,
I
ma'am.
sent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items to you. Document.
Wow. Okay.
If you want me to resend them, I can do so. But you
Okay,
can
please. I'll
check,
be
go
very
back
happy
and
now.
check 27 December, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So when I'm done, I'll add today's on too, so that you forward them to the group. So why I even mentioned the slides, I was saying that when I give you these slides, then you take your time to study the table, the words, the verbs prefixes that we use in forming verbs and what they mean. For example, we have the prefix re, which often means again or back. So restructure, revisit, reappear, rebuild, build again, appear again, visit again. So when we have RE forming a verb as a prefix in a verb, they often indicate, or the meaning is often back or again. Then we have D, we have who, out, miss, and this. So I will share the slides with you. You take your time to look at each of them. So we have prefix and then the suffixes as well. It's okay. Let's move on to look at the functions of the verb. The functions of a verb. So verb functions as the head in a verbal group or the event in a verbal group. We've been saying this over and over again, that the head of a group determines the type of group that it is. So if it is a verbal group you are looking at, then the verb functions as the head of the group. So in the first example, Mr. Mensah is a teacher. You realize that is there alone. So in this case, is a finite, at the same time the predicator. And so is here has been used as a conflict. Okay. Then we have has been coming. So this time around, we have a male verb there, coming, as the head word. So has becomes finite, being becomes Aussie, and then we have the coming. Then we have will be annoying. So the verb is the verb coming, the verb annoying. They are the head words of each of the verbal groups that we have over there. Okay, so that dog will be annoying visitors. So the verb group that you are interested in, or the verbal group you are interested in is will be annoying, will be annoying, will be annoying. So will is a finite, be is a predicator, and then annoying becomes the event or the head word. Here's another example where the verb group is so the first function is functions as the head of the verbal group, and the second function is it functions as the auxiliary in the verbal group. Okay, so as auxiliary we have the dog will be annoying visitors. So the verb group we are interested in is will be annoying visitors. So you realize that be over there, be over there, its function as an auxiliary to the main verb annoying. It is helping the main verb annoying. So in a verbal group, a verb can function as the head word or the event. A verb can be there as finite. A verb can be there as auxiliary. Depending on which of the verbs your focus is on, but they all form part of the functions of a verb. Robert, Mr. J, kindly mute for us. We want to look at the adverb. So adverbs indicate circumstance illustrated with a process. Before we talk about the process as the verb, okay, and the process can refer to seeing something, doing something, tasting something, and so on, or a state of being. They all come together to form the process. And so when you talk of adverb, we are talking about the circumstances surrounding the process. So they can tell us where, when, how often something occurs, or when, how often the process takes place. One feature of an adverb is that it is mobile. It is mobile. An adverb can begin a clause. It can be in the middle of a clause. It can be at the end of a clause. It is mobile. She picked up her books and ran to class hurriedly. She picked up her books and hurriedly ran to class. She picked up her books and ran hurriedly to class. You can have yesterday. She came here yesterday. Yesterday she came here. So adverbs are mobile. You can move them anywhere within the clause. Morphologically, or based on the form of an adjective, their form, we can talk about I said adjective, adverbs. We can talk about simple adverbs. We can talk about compound adverbs, where the simple adverbs are made up of single words, and then the compound adverbs are made up of compound words or maybe double words put together. There are certain endings that are typical of adverbs, and one of them is ly. Ly. Bear in mind, some adjectives also have ly ending. When we're looking at adjectives, we saw an example of that. But ly endings is something that is typical of adverbs. So often we add ly to adjective and then we get an adverb. For example, odd as an adjective becomes oddly as an adverb. Interesting as an adjective becomes interestingly. So ly is one of the key features of an adverb. I mean ly endings, ly suffix. They are key features of adverbs. There are other suffixes that also indicates the presence of adverbs, or that also indicates some words are adverbs, but they are not common. Something like wise as in clockwise, likewise, something like word as in northward, homeward, backwards. Ways as in sideways, but they are not common, like I said. Then we have, in terms of categorizing them semantically, we can talk of various forms of adverbs, such as adverb of time, place, manner, frequency, and so on. So adverb of time, it indicates the time that the process took place, or it indicates temporal location. Okay. So words such as tomorrow, now, yesterday, sudden, presently, they indicate time of a process or time that a process unfolds. So she will come tomorrow. Tomorrow indicates the time that she will come. The process is she coming. Coming is a process. And so when would that occur? Tomorrow. Then suddenly I heard a noise. A noise was heard, but how was it heard? Suddenly. So it's, remember when you talk of, okay, let me not go there again. So this one also, then we have The time. This also talks about the time. It was sudden. It wasn't yesterday. It's not tomorrow. It's just occurred. Then we have adverb of place. Adverb of manner. That describes how. So adverb of time talks about when. Adverb of manner indicates how. How. Slowly, quickly, loudly, kindly, nicely. The customer complained. How? The customer complained, but how was the complaint made? How was it done? It was done loudly. You should drive, but how should you drive? Carefully. So the adverb of manner answers the question how. Then we have adverb of place that answers the question where. It answers the question where. So it indicates the spatial location. Spatial location. So let me draw your attention to something. See that the adverb of time, it says that it tells us when a process unfolds. When a process unfolds. Then adverb of manner, it talks about how a process unfolds. I wish you keep these expressions in head. How a process unfolds. Then for adverb of place, they tell us where a process unfolds. So time, when a process unfolds, manner, how a process unfolds, and then place where a process unfolds, here, there, outside, everywhere. Then we have frequency. Frequency describes how often. How often. There's a difference between how and then how often. How is manner. Then we are looking at how often. Does it occur every day? Is it weekly? Is it yearly? How often? That's the adverb of frequency. I often think about you. So yes, I do the thinking, but how do I do it? How frequently do I do it? Or I do it often. I do it seldomly. I really do it. Then she's always late. Always. Yes, she came late. But is it something that how often does she come late? Always. Often. Every day. Every week. So they are all adverbs indicating frequency. Then we have adverbs of degree. The degree adverbs look at the intensity. The intensity of the process. Okay. So we were satisfied. How satisfied were you? Were you just satisfied? Were you very satisfied, or you were somehow satisfied? So we are looking at the intensity. We are tired. Okay. So how tired are you? A bit tired, so tired, too tired. How tired are you? So we are looking at the intensity, the degree. They are the degree adverbs. Then we have the adverbs of probability. That is when we'll be looking at the modals. The adverbs of possibility. So they describe the likelihood or uncertainty of an action. The likelihood or uncertainty of an action. That is adverbs of modality, and we call them modal adverbs. This could possibly happen. This could possibly happen. So this is looking at possibility. Okay. Then we have personally, I will not buy this Thomas.
Yes, madam. The adverbs of degree, we have examples like very, so, to. I want to know if there's a rule as to when to use very, when to use so, and when to use to. Because when you look at this example, the second example, we are too tired. Is it correct for you to say we are so tired, or is it also correct to say that we are very tired?
It does not depend. Can I get someone to answer that question, please? It's almost 4. It's 4. Does it not depend on the Victor?
Yeah, in my opinion, they can all be used, but it depends on the context that you're using it. Thank you. So it depends on the context, so they can all be used.
Okay.
Give us the content. You can just say the contents and go.
Like it should give you the context to indicate all of them. Please go read around to get the context for each of them. Okay. Do that extra reading to get the context for each of them. Unfortunately, we have to run. Please forgive us for this one. Let's finish up this one. So we want to look at the functions of an adverb. So adverbs can function as the head of an adverbial group. We've said this already over and over. So if you have an adverbial group, very early, quite gracefully, really slowly indeed, to okay, so very early. We have the group very early, and the early there, she woke up very early. So early is referring to the time that she woke up. So very early is a adverbial group, and early is the adverb, the head of that adverbial group. So adverbs can function as the head of adverbial group quite gracefully. Gracefully, there's an adverb function as the head word of that adverbial group quite gracefully. Really quickly indeed. Really quickly indeed. So quickly there is the head word of that adverbial group really quickly indeed. Then they can also modify in adjectival groups. Adverbs can also modify adjectives. So they are quite happy. They are happy. How are they happy? They are quite happy. They are very sad. So the adverbs quite and very are modifying the adjectives happy and sad. So adverbs can also perform the modification function. Then they can also perform the post-dative function. For this one, please, I will make this question and before I give it to you. That is not highlighted. Okay, what is highlighted is extremely. So we have that it's not highlighted. Extremely bad girl. So the word we are looking at is extremely and then unusual. So if you remember, we said that the post-dative words are the words that are placed after the dative words. After the words that do the pointing. The pointing words are the dative words. And then the words that come after the pointing words to even make what is pointed at more clearer is the, or make it clearer is the post-dative, and adverbs can perform that function. We were supposed to have looked at another slide, but I'm looking at, do you think you can still go on with it, or within the week, can you find 1.5 hours for me somewhere within the week so that we complete the lesson for this week before next Saturday. I'm taking your opinions, please. Okay, Kate, please, which one is okay?
Okay, mommy, we will try and schedule the 1.5 hours within the week. But before we do that, we will ask you which of the days will be okay, so that we also compare to the rest of our lecture periods, and then we'll get back to you, please. So
Okay,
after
so
you have told us the day that you'll be free, then we'll also check it with our timing, and then we'll get back to you, please.
I think within the week from Monday to Friday.
Okay. All right.
I think
Thank you
you
very
will
much.
be resuming, right? Schools will be
Yes,
opening soon. So you will be
yes, on
going to
Thursday. On Thursday.
okay.
Yes, please.
So let's see. I will be waiting. I'm at your service. You let me know.
Okay.
I delayed
Okay,
you. So
please.
I ask you
We'll
sacrifice.
discuss it on the platform and get back to you, please.
Are you sure you get back? Because last week
Yes, we will. We will.
someone was
We
supposed to get back.
definitely
The
will.
person forgot to. We need to cover up
We
the
definitely
other
will.
that's left.
Yes,
Because
please,
it's
we will.
already 4, and I don't want to
This evening we'll discuss it. By tomorrow, we'll get back to you, please.
get back to me. Okay.
Yes,
So
please.
I will wait for that. So we do the 1.5 hours.
Okay.
And Saturday, God willing, we'll be left with only lesson 6. And then when we are done with lesson 6, we'll be looking at the. Please, have you seen the documents I sent you, or should I resend them?
Yes, the man, please resend to me. I had the change of phone, and I think
Okay.
that might have been the yes, please.
Okay. Then
I'll forward it as soon as I get it.
okay. Then I'll resend everything to you so that next week, Saturday, God willing, when we are done with lesson 6, then we'll go back to look at the tutorials. Anything, the tutorial is just extra explanation to whatever that we have done. So I ask you to read them, and then where you still have issues, when we are done with our lesson, the last lesson next week, Saturday, God willing, we will take all those questions. And I also ask you to look through the self-assessment questions. Try to answer the questions. Please try to answer the questions. You know, they are all likely examination questions. So please try to answer them. Where we have challenges, we can look at them next week, God will, when we are done with looking at lesson 6. Are there any questions, please? So, Madam Kate, I will wait for you. Okay.
Yes, please. I will.
Please do, and let's meet before next week, Saturday. If there are no other questions, okay, then we would like to end the class here. Hopefully, I will meet you within the week for us to finish up this one before next week.
Okay, please. Thank you.